please, Robert Courts.
Pleasure to serve under your chairmanship, and I rise today with great deal of humility, having heard the distinguished speakers who've gone before me, who've served and who have great experience in these matters. And I only rise because I'd like to add something from a slightly different perspective. I haven't served, I'm a lawyer, but I approach this from a legal perspective because I do think there's a legal as well as a moral element to this as well. I am, by nature, very cautious about the increasing role of law in warfare, simply because the mindset of a lawyer is so different to that of a soldier by necessity. Lawyers are cautious, they are risk-averse, they explore every option. That simply isn't available in circumstances such as those described by the Honourable Member for Wells. The military, or about the can-do attitude that was described by the Honourable Member for Newbury. And that's even more the case when we're looking at cases in retrospect, Mr. Streeter. Now, nobody suggests that the military should be able to act with impunity, as the Honourable Member for Aldershot has just said. All that is expected is natural justice and fairness. If laws of war have been broken or engagements have been broken, then of course they should be held to account, but not years and years after the event. The spectacle of historic repeated allegations is absolutely deplorable and set against a set of standards that often simply weren't available at the time. IHAT's the classic example of that, but Northern Ireland much more recently. I would like to just add the one thought around the Limitation Act from the civil law perspective. I used to prosecute in an area, practice in an area of industrial disease, representing people who suffer from mesothelioma and horrible illnesses like that. In those circumstances, there is a statute of limitations called the Limitation Act, and companies can expect, after a certain amount of time, they may not be pursued. There's very good reasons for that, Mr. Streeter. It's because memories fade, documents get lost, standards change, knowledge and attitudes change. And so after a reasonable amount of time, they have a reasonable expectation that they won't continue to be pursued. And there's a clear imbalance in cases here where, for example, IRA didn't keep records where the British Army do. In the civil law, we would look at things very, very differently. And I would suggest, and I entirely support the suggestion that's been made of the statute of limitations, simply because we have a similar thing in the civil law. What we are currently doing is providing assistance and protection for historic industrial companies who are only facing a civil claim and not against soldiers who may be facing a very serious matter that will turn their lives upside down. In conclusion, I'm very grateful for the time that's been given. I simply would like to stay on record that our veterans should be entitled to know that when they serve, they can go home with gratitude and not have to look over their shoulders for the rest of their lives. The government should be clear. The public view the spectacle of Britain turning on its own with absolute disgust. We have to bring peace to veterans who have worked so hard to bring peace to us.